Emmerson Mnangagwa has been re-elected as president of Zimbabwe. The governing ZANU-PF says this is an indication that a new confidence is being instilled. But the leader of Zimbabwe's main opposition, that's Nelson Chamisa, is rejecting the result. SADC is also not endorsing the poll, saying it did not meet principles of free and fair elections. So let's get some reaction now from political analyst Mishek Mugabe joins me for this conversation. And Mishek, thank you for your time and a very warm good morning to you. A surprise, Emmerson Mnangagwa winning by 53% according to the Zimbabwe Electoral Commission. Your view, your response.
Thank you so much for having me. Greetings to your viewers at home. No, the credibility and the integrity of these elections are in question. Obviously, we have seen the report by the SADC Observer Mission. It's for the first time SADC fails, or SADC does not endorse the election outcome and point a lot of irregularities. And because it's for the first time, people now are taking a lot of interest on what then might be the future for Zimbabwe, considering that what happens in Zimbabwe affects what happens to many other SADC countries. You know, the immigration crisis, you know, the economic challenges that Zimbabweans are going through. And therefore, this is a very, very serious issue. And Nelson Chamisa also, refused to accept the outcome of the results, of course, based on a number of issues that he has pointed. And I do think that one of the things I have picked since the announcement of the results is that not a single head of state have congratulated Emmerson Mnangagwa yet. Why? Because there are new developments in the in the region based on this SADC report, and or even the European Union Observer Mission also did not endorse these reports, and of course many other observer missions that were there as well. Which is observers are very, very important in an election because they give an independent observation of what they see on the ground, and at the same time there are some sort of auditors for the election, and therefore the audit outcome of their of their work is pointing into a lot of irregularities. But I want to speak about the standards, of holding an election. An election must have free and fair campaigning for candidates. And that, has been a problem because Nelson Chamisa's rallies were being banned. As we have seen, there was no proper access to political market for all the players that were on the game. Number two, there must be a peaceful environment, for elections to be free and fair. But if you have checked the reports that are coming and what we have been seeing on the ground, is that some of the observers were being arrested, some of the contestants, they were being intimidated, some of the voters were being intimidated by what is called FAS, which is some sort of state operative. So that is a problem. The third issue, there must be equal media coverage. And if you look at the state media, it was only broadcasting rallies of ZANU-PF and a few political parties, but the one for CCC and other parties were not being broadcasted, and that is a problem. But the fourth issue is the ballot itself. It must be democratic process. The counting must be open, and the tallying of votes. It must be open and fair and democratic.
Yeah.
But that
and
is
Mishek, if I may just come in there as well, because those are some of the irregularities that have been pointed out by the observers, and also, from other countries following with international media. Definitely there were discrepancies there seen and identified. We do know that in South Africa, there are Zimbabweans that are planning on marching to the Zimbabwean embassy out in Pretoria. Do you think this march will be effective? Do you think this march by Zimbabweans will send a strong message to the Zimbabwean government regarding these elections?
Yeah, no, I did not hear your question. Can you just repeat?
No, I was just asking, Mishak, with the expected march, the protest march to the Zimbabwean embassy expected today by Zimbabwean nationals right here in South Africa, do you think this march will be effective in sending a strong message of rejection to the government of Zimbabwe?
No, it won't be effective. I tell you why. Because the game is right in Zimbabwe. It's not anywhere else. When you play it anywhere else, it might not be significant. But the implications of these elections, are in four folds. That's why I think that this match is not going to be much significant. What is more significant, is that Nelson Chamisa must follow three options that are, I want to propose here if they want to contest these elections. The first one is a constitutional process wherein he can launch a very solid litigation process if he have got V11 forms in his at his disposal, to prove, of course, which I think is having at the moment. Number two is a political solution wherein there must be a negotiated settlement, some sort of a government of national unity, where all parties must prepare a transitional government, considering that we have got a political crisis. There might be need for a political solution. But the third one is a diplomatic solution. I think that is very, very important that all African heads of state must stand up and be able to say, we want what is best for the nation of Zimbabwe. The country has gone through a lot over the years and we want a solution. So I don't think that this much might be a solution. What is a solution is right inside Zimbabwe, not anywhere else.
But just my last question to you. Obviously, even with the suggestion you're making, Nelson Chamisa follows with regards to processes. Should he want to challenge these election results, surely Emmerson Mnangagwa and the ZANU-PF will not let this line down without a very strong fight back to remain in power.
No, most definitely they will fight back. It's a strong regime. And it's a deep state. It will come all out to defend their power. Why is it that ZANU-PF would want to defend their power as a ruling party? It's because there are a lot of wrong things that, most of their leaders have been doing over the years. A lot of corruption, intimidation of people, a lot of, killing of people. And if you remember very well that there are many cases from the Gukra Wound up to now, they will have to answer for all those if they are to be out of power. And therefore, they will use everything at their disposal to defend their power. That's why I want to send a message to Nelson Chamisa that power is not given. Power is taken. Nelson Chamisa knows what needs to be done if he wants to be in power. He must not be too soft when he's dealing with a regime, because a regime is a military regime and is very strong and it will go all out. But the implications of these elections I just want to raise for your viewers is that...
Yes, briefly, please, Mishak.
These outcomes cause a SADC crisis of immigration crisis. Number two, social reproductive crisis. But thirdly, the deepened economic crisis. I can tell you, very well that unemployment is very high, the economy has collapsed, the health system has collapsed, the education system is collapsing, and inflation levels are above 100%, and it's very bad for the country. But the crisis of legitimacy needs to be resolved.
We leave it there. Thank you so much, Mishak Mugabe, for joining me and having this conversation. This at the back of the election results out in Zimbabwe, claiming that Emmerson Mnangagwa of the ZANU-PF has won re-election. This against